All right, hope you guys can actually see my screen. It's apparently Windows 1, but I think we should be having some sort of guidelines with those who are using MacBooks. So apparently I recommended you guys to use either Photoshop 2019 or something above, depending on the machine that you're using. Apparently the current machine that I'm using, I'm going to use any of the Photoshops. I think I'll go with the current one, 2024. But for some of you guys, I didn't know, I'll actually use the 2019 one. I think it will be easier for us. Most of the things that we're going to learn from the start will actually apply to also 2024 version. All I think I also need to do some sort of a practice with it. Now, the essence of the class and our kind of learning is to share with us how to learn design very fast. Same applies to motion graphics. So I'm going to share with us the easiest way to learn these things, and the kind of format we're going to be following is going to be project kind of based, the project-based kind of learning, and it's going to be actually very, very beautiful for us. Now, for those of you guys who are having your softwares with you or Photoshop or something of that sort, when you open it, this is actually the first interface that normally comes through, right? What happens? There's this first interface. I think this one, for those of you guys who have just probably opened the software for the first time, or have ever opened it, before you actually do anything, this pop-up normally comes automatically. I had to click create new, but it normally pops up automatically, right? Now, when it pops up, I think this one shouldn't make us fear a bit. This is literally the easiest kind of window that we have to deal with. Firstly, we're going to put in the preset details, all the details of the file that we're actually working on. So I'm just going to, here you didn't give it any name that you desire. Probably I'm just going to call it Mograph 1. Mograph 1. So apparently most of the flyers that you guys are going to be doing, or what social media actually accepts, it's going to be probably 1080 by 1080 pixels. Now in a bit we shall share what pixels actually mean or something that sort. Yeah, so here it's going to be like 1080 by 1080 or 1500 by 1500, depending on the kind of format that you're literally going for. Now, this width and height are literally going to be the dimensions of the flyer that we're going to be designing. Now, what I'm saying is that in most of the cases, you're going to find yourself like using dimensions that literally square. That is either 1500 by 1500, 1080 by 1080, depending on the social media platform that you should be using. So literally, that's what we are doing here. So by default, I normally use 1080 by 1080 or 1500 by 1500. Most of the people normally do collaborations. So within most of the collaborations, like what other people use, I go to follow that kind of term, that kind of dimensions. So apparently here it's by default pixels per inch. The pixels per inch normally they're used within printing or something. It's either 72 pixels per inch, the resolution, or perhaps to some of you guys it's actually 300, but that one does not matter a lot, except if you're going to be printing your work. Yeah, that's when you can literally probably can have some sort of a search, how many pixels per inch should I use on this kind of dimensions. But for now, since we're literally doing something for social media, we're just going to leave it at either 72 or 300. I think that's actually the default for most of us. RGB, color mode, we're going to leave it at RGB color. We're going to leave it at 8 bits. And then the background, it's normally white for most of you guys, but I would prefer it to be transparent personally. But you can leave it white or something. That's what with advanced options, you don't need to actually change anything in there. I think the color profile is okay. So that's how we literally work on the interface. This is actually very, very easy, very, very basic. Yeah. So apparently after doing that, so this one actually, the only thing you'll be changing the concurrent actually work that we shall be doing like on a daily, we shall be literally changing the name of the artboard or the name of the artwork that you shall be doing, right? So let's get right into the artboard. Now, since I clicked on transparency, let me just create something new right here. Since I made this transparent, apparently transparent, when you make it white, just like how it is on most of your desktops or Windows or whatever kind of machine that you're using, on most of the softwares, it doesn't matter whether you're using Photoshop 2024 or Photoshop 2019, the one I'm using, it's going to be white by default. So for most of you guys who are having literally a white one, so it will actually be like this. Apparently, I would prefer it to be transparent, and then I add some sort of a background to it, right? So most of you guys could be new to how actually now the interface is actually looking, but I'm going to make it very, very easy for us. Now, mind you guys, there's something which I haven't pointed out. Let me first go back to this interface so that I point it out. Now, most of you guys were having this kind of artboards not clicked. By default, it's not actually clicked. On most of the artworks that I'm going to recommend you to do, you're going to have to enable it. It's going to give you some sort of added advantage when you enable it. So never start probably your Photoshop workspace without enabling it for different kind of reasons that I'm going to share with us, right? Yeah. So we're going to do that. Beautiful. So I believe most of you guys were little following along, and for most of you guys who are just watching, if you're following along, this is actually the interface that is going to come up. Now, let me make it a bit default. The workspace, let me make it kind of default. Let me reset it. Apparently, you guys are literally having this kind of interface. Now, I know for the first time it's kind of overwhelming and all that kind of stuff, but it shouldn't be overwhelming. One thing that I'll have to point out is that we're going to use a few tools in most of our workflows to achieve different kind of artworks and possibilities that we're going to be doing, right? Now, first of all, let me point out a few things that I would love you guys to do. We're going to get rid of some of the panels. Now, these are literally panels. As you can see, this is literally a toolbar, right? It's a panel. It can be moved around. It can be literally moved around and all kind of stuff. This color swatches is the panel. I mean the swatches is the panel. It's swatches literally a combination of colors or a collection of colors. Now also this color thing is a panel, right? So we're going to get rid of these panels because we might not need them, right? So all you have to do is to come here to this kind of we normally call it a hamburger menu. If somebody's ever done kind of web design or something, on this hamburger menu in the corner, hope you guys can see it, right? So you have to come here, click on it, and then be like close all tabs, right? On this kind of left side, apparently we are left with only layers. You want to leave only layers there. So the other colors and everything, you actually don't need those kinds of those places. You don't need to actually have those panels. So I'm just going to show us one particular panel that we may need or we're going to be using. The main particular panel we're going to be using is the layer panel. Right now, there's something I have to explain concerning how Photoshop works and everything. It's actually made of layers, and I'm going to show us how it is literally by example. I think it's actually one of the most important concepts for somebody to actually understand. Photoshop or design, most of the design softwares are literally made of layers, right? I'm going to share something in a bit. Let me first share with us a few different tools from the panel, right? So apparently we have this layer panel. This is what we're going to be using oftentimes. I think even the channels, we don't need it so much, but we shall leave it there as long as we have this cut thing literally. I'm having only layers. That kind of our right side, I think is the right hand side, right? So on this other side, we're going to be having the toolbars. Now you're not going to be using most of the toolbars, at least for the start. Not quite often. In fact, we're going to use something like 3 toolbars for the artworks we're going to design, right? Apparently, we have this upper menu which has the files, right? So here the files, it shows you how to add, how to open a document, and another kind of stuff. I think I will share with us after the class how some of the tutorials that you guys are going to follow along or to learn from. Apparently, I'm going to be moving a bit fast, but I'm going to make it as easy as it can be. for us to, learn how to do a few flyers that we're going to design, right? So we have the file menu, the edit menu. We're going to see. Apparently, most of these. Let me just also point this out. Except at that place where we're going to be exporting our artwork, right? But oftentimes you're not going to actually visit the edit menu, right? You're not going to actually need the image menu. I think that this other one of images, you're not going to need the layer menu. I think you actually take a month or something without even clicking it. Type, except otherwise you might not actually need it. The select one, you will not actually need it in most of your artworks. Let me just show us what we're going to do in the first place, and I will tell you as I'm telling you some of the panels that we want to need, right? Okay. Oh, there's something I'd promised. Now, oh God, I think I will do it in the midst of the class or as we're ending the session for Photoshop, right? There's a friend of mine, I think he's actually part of the class. Apparently, he had done some designs. He has followed this kind of format that we're going to follow. And I shared some of a PDF of what he was able to do, right? I think I could be having it right here. I don't know whether I'm having it right here, like a PDF of what he was able to do in something like 5 days, right? So he put in the energy, he put in the work, he practiced, he learned a couple of things from what we did. And I think I will share that kind of PDF later on. So let me just share with us what we want, what we're going to be able to do at the end of this class for Photoshop in the next few minutes. So I got some flyers from MTN and Airtel, and some of them are a bit basic. One of the reasons why you have to learn Photoshop is that even though you're just having your own kind of startup or something of that sort, all you have to do is literally devote a few minutes and you can literally come up with a very, very beautiful flyer or something of that sort, right? So I'm going to drag and drop these flyers right in the artboard apparently. Okay. Let me try dragging them inside here. Okay, some of them are not accepting. I think I know there's an Australia they are not. So let me do something very fast here. I literally got them from social media, so I think they are too small for me to add them here. So I'm just going to make them compatible. All right. So we're going to work on this particular one. Okay. So let me first show us something. Now, you guys remember I told you that is very important. Let me first go back a bit here in a bit. The reason that's why we clicked on artboard, let me just create a new document without having actually it clicked or active, right? The one of artboards, and then click on create. Now, when I do this, what happens is that when I drag any kind of flyer or something so that I need to, work on a concept or something, when I drag it out of the artboard, like it's not seen, right? Like you can't see it, it's actually right here, but you can't see it when it's outside the working space or the working artboard, right? So that's the essence. Right now, we're able to actually see our flyer out of the working artboard because we enabled this kind of we ticked or enabled this kind of artboard kind of a thing, right? So that's why I literally recommend you guys to whenever you're opening up your document or something else, so you're going to have a bit of reference flyers or something that's what to do, and you actually need it to be clicked. All right, without any further ado, at the end of the class, I want us to be able to do the to redesign this Motivation Monday Airtel flyer, right, at the end of the class. I think I also have some other flyers that we should be able to design at the end of the class. I wanted to get some sort of an anim chain one. I think let me get this particular one. Let me try to see whether it can actually come. I think it can't. Oftentimes when you download something from social media, now I got this from their social media accounts, so they're literally too small. So what you normally have to do is to go to edit, you right click, you go to edit, open the paint thing. All you have to do is to save as just like how you do in a Word document. So you save it as a JPEG and then give it any random name. I've given it PVP, right? So I'm just going to open it and then drag it here. So that's what literally happens. So that's the workflow for some of you guys who have been using Photoshop and that kind of a thing has been happening. That's kind of a workflow for it, right? So these two flyers, I don't know whether we're going to have ample time, but I would that we have ample time. So as still taking us through the menu, most of these things you're not going to need them while working on such kind of flyers or something that sort, or we shall be going through them in our preceding classes or something that sort. You're not going to use 3D for your life, right? For lifetime. That one you're not going to even use it at any point in time because Adobe itself is actually consciously discontinuing it. So it might not even appear probably in some of the later versions of Photoshop. So you won't need it. The view, you won't probably need it for now. The windows, you won't need it for now, at least to create this kind of flyer or something that sort. Yeah. So apparently this is literally the toolbar, right? And I'm going to take us briefly through it because the main reason as why we're here is firstly to understand the interface of Photoshop and then do something with it. Now it's going to be a bit of a marathon, just like I promised us. Like we're going to go through things very fast. I'm going to share with us a couple of tutorials that we're going to follow at the end of the class, like for Photoshop, like for somebody to actually take you through that every kind of detail to do with this. Yeah, we're going to share the links to actually that, and that will be very, very beautiful. So this is literally the interface. Now, while creating this kind of layer, we're going to only need a few tools, right? In fact, few tools. We might only actually use only one tool or two tools. That's actually the move tool. It's going to be the most important tool. The shortcut for it, once you hover over the tool, you can actually see the name of that tool, and then the shortcut. There is a certain window that pops up by default. If at all you've just started actually using Photoshop, and this is the Learn window. Now, I personally kind of disable it because I don't need it. But in your kind of free time, you can actually go through some of these ones. They're literally innate. It can actually take you through how a few things actually work. Yeah, so apparently I will close it because we don't need it, right? So as a reminder, this is going to be project-based. So we're going to be designing stuff and learning from what we're designing, right? So you're going to be actually following through that. I'll actually share tutorials after this to take us through the context of how everything happens. Now, when you're starting up with design, oftentimes in any kind of software, whether you're using Illustrator or Figma or whatever kind of design software, you want to start with getting colors. Now, just like as I shared, we're going to use a few tools from here. Apparently, we have the move tool. This is literally selection. In fact, all these three are literally selection tools. One of them is the selection marquee tool or something of that sort. This is literally a lasso tool. And then this one has a magic wand. There are even some other tools hidden here, quick selection tool. This is a crop tool. But most of them, you're not going to be using them. You're not going to be using the crop tool, the frame. This particular one, you'll never actually use it for life in Photoshop. It's normally used in InDesign. In Photoshop, you might not need to use it. There is actually a swifter, easier way to do what it does very, very easily. So we have this kind of tool. It's the eyedropper tool. We won't use it probably in this kind of a thing. Yeah, we have quite a lot of tools. The gradient one, some of the dodge and burn. We shall explore them when you're learning Photoshop retouching or something of sort in some of the tutorials I'll share with us. And then we have the pen tool. We should also have a dedicated class on how to use the pen tool. But in creating this kind of artworks, you don't need all those tools. So we're going to use apparently the shape tool, how to create a shape. Now, what happens when you click in a tool in the first time? What happens is that let me first out-click it. When you click it, there's this other bar underneath this kind of menu bars, right? As you can see, we have auto selection, show transform controls. We have these alignment tools, the alignment tools that are apparently not highlighted because we have nothing to align, right? So what happens, this kind of a bar right up here is actually is there to give us the context of the tool that we're using now. Since we're using the move toolbar, it's actually giving us, what are we selecting? Are we selecting a layer? It's by default has to be a layer or something of sort. When we change it to the move tool, you'll see actually the menus changing up here, right? Apparently, you may not need to use the menus that are literally up here. One of the main menu, you remember I told you guys to undock, we normally call it undocking or closing tabs, right? Apparently, let me show us what undocking is. For example, if you open a tab, it's actually right here. It's kind of attached or linked to this kind of station right here. So we can move it, and this kind of moving, we call it undocking. So when you move it somewhere like here or on the right or something, let me just make it a bit small, and you move it here. Now what we've done is literally docking or making it part of, some the panels right here. So we can undock it. So this is the properties panel is going to be the main panel that we're going to be using in our workflow. So it's going to be the main one, at least for the start, right? So apparently, when I click on the shape layer, if you guys have used Microsoft Word or any kind of, I think I would have opened some sort of PowerPoint. I'm sure as that this is literally what you've been doing in PowerPoint. If somebody has ever used PowerPoint, it's actually the same workflow, right? So when you open your Photoshop, we're going to move and click on the shape tool, and we're going to create a few layers. So when you click on the shape tool, what happens? They will give us some sort of context kind of menu here. We have one of the menu called fill, and the second one called stroke, right? The fill is literally the color of is literally the color of our shape. We have to assign a color to our kind of our shape that we're going to be drawing or something of that sort. So apparently, right now we're going to give it some sort of a color. I think we're going to give it yellow. And then stroke is literally the outer boundary of the shape, So let me give it some sort of a color so that we may get to understand it. So I'm not going to dwell here for so long because we might not need this so much. Okay. So let me create the shape right here in just a few. All right, I've created our shape. As we can see, we have that outer boundary, which is literally our stroke, right? The black one, as you can see, we assigned a black color to our stroke. This actually thing right here, as we shall show in some of the tutorials, is literally to remove the stroke, so we can get rid of it. And then, we'll get rid of it. So I'm going to create a few shapes very fast since I think our time is running very fast. Now, these shapes are going to be our color palettes. Whenever you're starting up with design, I would just love to, even though we're literally moving in some sort of a marathon kind of mode, we're going to need to follow some of the design principles or, things used by professionals. So you're going to start with the color palette. Apparently, we have two kind of flyers. I don't know whether time is going to allow us, but I'm going to move a bit fast. But as I move a bit fast, you guys are going to see that actually it's very, very easy to do this kind of workflow. So I'm going to encourage us, before actually we start everything, I'm going to encourage us, and this is literally a plea that we put in some work. We're going to share some of the tutorials and some of the other kind of things that we actually need. In fact, we have a lot of things that we're going to share along the way. Let me just show us a few of them. We're going to learn a lot to do with car theory. I think it will be something like class 8. We should just learn to do with car theory. I think I have a lot of information right here to do with just car theory. Let me just zoom in. Let me just zoom in a bit. Okay, there's a lot of information just to do with car theory. Tertiary colors, basic colors. I think I even shared this with the manifest team somewhere. Primary colors, tertiary colors, monochrome colors, and all kind of stuff like this. Quite a lot. We shall learn about the design principles right here. There are quite a lot. There are over like 40 slides of design principles. Some of them we won't need them so much. Some of them we shall. So we have a lot to cover, and I would just love to encourage us to, put in the work. Once we share the tutorials, please follow up to them and all kind of stuff. So I'm going to encourage us. It's going to take us a lot of work. It's going to take us, I think, some time, to be competent, but it's very, very easy to, come up with some cool stuff in just a few days. Anyway, let me proceed with our flyer that we have right here. Apparently, just like I told you, we're going to be using 3 of these, so it shouldn't be as shocking to you guys. You guys shouldn't be afraid of, this kind of tools. We're going to just be using 3 of them to make this flyer, right? So anyway, we're going to create the color palette. Right now this is actually the second color. So what I'm going to do, I told you on the properties panel we're going to be using it. Now the color, when I click on this kind of thing right here, the shape, we can actually click here. I think this menu is the same menu actually that we had right here. So it's actually, we're having it on the properties panel right here. So apparently I can also change a color from here. So what happens when you click here, you get access to the colors. And then I would love to actually color pick or, choose the color from one of the flyers. So once I click on this bar right here, I hope you guys can actually see it. Once I click on it, it's very, very easy. It gives a, once I click on it and this window pops up, once I move my cursor out of the window, as you can see, it's actually automatic. I don't need to place anywhere. It turns into that color picker sort of a thing. So all you have to do is to click on the color, right? So on the project files, I will share with you all that we need. I think I'll provide with you with the Airtel logo, the color palette, and all kind of stuff. You won't need to actually to do this yourself. Yeah, so I've just chosen a color palette. I've just chosen, I think it's going to be yellow and red and white, I think. Let me just make this the yellow of MTN. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So apparently this is actually, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to have some sort of consistency with those colors, right? So what happens right now, I'm going to get the logos now. These logos, I'm going to share them with us in the project files. I think I got some of them right here with me. They're kind of, I know that they are Illustrator files or something, also to have them here with me. Let me just pick them very fast. I wanted actually to also take some time and share with us some of the work I've done before, but I don't know whether we might have that time. I wanted to share with us probably some of the reasons as to why I'm sharing this. I've done a lot of work with different agencies and everything. I think let me just take 1 or 2 minutes to just show us what is possible or some of the stuff I've done. Normally, some of them I don't share them, because that we work with different agencies and all kind of stuff. But I've done a lot of flyers. I think I've not done. I'm working some sort of portfolio to share at the end of the day, but I've worked on a lot of work. So this is part of probably the flyers. I pick up over one sometimes back. There are lots of flyers that we did with them. I don't know whether we might even have the time to go through them, but they're quite a lot. Right? Let me. I think I have some sort of a portfolio that I created some time back that I've never shared. Right? So anyway, let's just take 1 or 2 minutes. Let's just take 1 or 2 things. But this was kind of last year. I'll just go through it very fast. I've done a lot of logos, I've done a lot of logo designs, and I think at the end of the day, even better than this is something like 2022. There's not actually any current flyer that I think this was a shared in 2022. For some of you have been following this on the social media or something. So you've seen this kind of flyers sometime back. I think I did some photo manipulation sometime back there for Coca-Cola or something else when I was talking about their branding. I worked with Capital Kitchen. I've worked with Burger Crafts. I've done lots of photo manipulations here and there, designed t-shirts, design for CCTVs, video storyteller, lots of things. I think this is when I designed that thing literally like in 2022. A lot of work. I think this is just old PDF that I no longer share. I've done a lot of flyers. I've done a lot of practice in this, and I'm just going to show you how easily I've done this. But there's quite a lot of work. I don't share this PDF because it's very, very old. I think I'll just remove some of the few flyers that I like from there. Anyway, that was actually good. I've just done it for a few seconds because it's not important right now. What's more important is how are we making the other flyers. So I'm just going to get our logos with us right here. I think I just need to duplicate them. I think I've ever done something like this sometime back. Let me just extract them in a bit. I want us to be able to do these flyers very fast. I hope time allows us, because we have to go and follow After Effects. I'm going to be available the whole day. I'm going to be available tomorrow to see some of the stuff you guys have quickly come up with. So let me just drag the Airtel logo right here, which I will provide you with the Airtel logo after. As you can see, Anyway, maybe I've actually dragged the logo very fast. What happens is that once open a folder, right, the folder that you're using or something else. Right? Now this is an EPS version. It actually opens like in Photoshop, SVGs, and that kind of stuff. We shall, I think, in some of the tutorials that we shall share with you, they shall share some of these formats. Yeah. So what happens? You just drag and drop. I hope you guys have done dragging and dropping like in different kind of softwares, right? You just drag and drop the logo into that document. Now, what happens? Whatever thing that let me just show out something here. This is literally our artboard. Whatever happens in this kind of artboard is going to be the one which is going to be exported. So let me just give us an example that probably we want some sort of a timer and time has literally gone. Once you come here to export, right? Let me just export it very fast on the desktop. Apparently, what once we export, none of the other things are going to appear in our exported version except what we've just done within the artboard. Let me just look at it's actually right here. So literally, this is our flyer that we've created so far, right? So that's what literally the artboard does. Whatever you do in this virtual artboard, the rest are literally outside the artboard. As you can see in the layer panel, these are literally outside the artboard, and this is literally inside the artboard, right? So apparently, the format we're going to use, we're going to just copy what is here and actually do it very fast here. So I would have done it myself like in just a few seconds. As you can see on this Airtel flyer, what's happening is that they have only the logo, they have a text, a reason to imagine. So we shall be using the text thing here. Now, the way the text thing here, the text thing here actually is used is the very way it's used in PowerPoint. It's the very way it's used in any kind of software that you've ever used, in the Word document or something like that. So, what happens? We're going to get some sort of image, apparently something to do with tech. So let me just go and get some sort of image. We need to create this flyer too in just a few seconds of MTN. So I'm also going to get the image in just a few. So we have something like 16 minutes left, I think, for the end of our Photoshop. So in just like 6 minutes, we have to be done with these two flyers. And I'm going to show us how easy it is. Anyway, let me look for the what I would have called this stuff very fast. If you're designing, you're going to be using free pick a lot of times and Unsplash. I think we should also share some of the links there to some of these websites, right? So I'm going to go on my free pick and I'm going to look for tech, a man in tech or something. So you just search for the word. Okay, let me just log in a bit. Okay, let me just log in a bit. Okay, sorry about this. Let me just log in a bit. I thought it was automatically logged in. All right. We are here. So I'm just going to look for man tech, or man tech. Just put in keywords here. Man tech. So yeah, so I'm just going to get a person who is literally involved into tech. Apparently, we're having one here. So let me try to get. My goodness, this is actually the picture. Wow, I never knew actually this guy's used. I wanted to get some sort of premium one that's quite licensed. But I think we've already got one that actually looks like the one. Okay, let me just get another image of happy things. So when you're getting images, I would encourage you to actually visit Prepic. One of the most important things is actually to get a very high quality image. Use very high quality image. Now, if you're using a low quality image on very nice flyer, something won't come out, right? So we have to look for high quality images. So I'm just going to get something like I think something like this will do. I don't know, something like this will also do. So let me get one or two of these flyers. I think this one also do. So anyway, as those are literally downloading, I think one of our flyers actually has finished downloading. So I'm just going to drop it. So as I'm dropping in this, I'm going to share with us the concept behind Photoshop or most of the design softwares. It literally works in terms of layers, right? So let me open it right here. I think one of, oh, it's actually still downloading. Why is it taking that long? Okay, so our image is right here. I think it's actually the very image. Oh God, this is actually very cool. It's actually the very image that those OpenITL actually used. So what happens? Let me share with us concerning now the layer panel because we need to understand it by example, right? Now, here's what's happening. Apparently, I shared with you, let me just put it right here. I shared with you a fact that, oh God, I know that enable the camera. I never wanted us to be distracted by camera. So anyway, let me just use my voice and have our screen here. I shared with you and told you that Photoshop works in layers, and this is literally the key. Once you understand this, you've literally understood like almost 80% of what you need to understand in line with Photoshop, right? As somebody has said that about that I can't be heard. I hope you guys are hearing me. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So we have a few minutes to go into Illustrator and also do some sort of an ad there. Yeah, so apparently Photoshop works in terms of layers. So what happens if we put an image, for some of you guys who have literally joined the call, we're going to start with After Effects or motion graphics in a bit. I think by something like 9. Apparently, we're just finishing up with Photoshop. So somebody's saying that they can't hear the audio. I think I can be heard. I think I can be heard. Humphrey team, please. I think it's your network. So Photoshop works in terms of layers. What happens? We have a layer right here showing us. I don't know if I can even zoom the interface. I think I can't zoom the interface. Apparently, it's showing us now. This is the Airtel logo. Let me just rename it Airtel logo, right? The Airtel logo is literally underneath or below this particular image. So when I click on it, you can see it highlighted right here. So it's underneath. So it's because it's underneath, just like how the normal world works, right? If anything's underneath, or if a book is literally underneath something, that something will be actually hidden. So that's what happens with the layers, right? If something is underneath it, for example, if I drag the photo below the Airtel logo, you will see that the logo is actually appearing because we've hidden it, right? So that's how literally layers work. Anything that's underneath the other is hidden by the one which is above, right? So having understood that, it's actually very, very, very important, right? So that's literally the concept. Anything below the other, it's hidden by it. So apparently you want to make this photo to be underneath the logo, right? So we're going to make it to be below the logo and just drag it a bit below right here, right? So we're having our image right here. So what happens? Apparently, according to the plan that we're finishing, in fact, after this, you will have to literally be able to design this by yourself or something like that sort. We're just going to position the logo right here, and then just like I told you, we're going to use only 2 tools to create this kind of a thing, this kind of layer that was produced by a big brand, Airtel. Right? So we're going to create our text. Now, when you're creating a text, once you click on it, you'll see this thing, literally the cursor turning into this kind of a text, just like how you do it in any other software. Is the same way you actually have to do it right here. So except that there's a new workflow that I would just love to introduce to us. Before you click on any text, there are 2 ways. Either you can click, that is left click, and then drag what you're clicking to create some sort of, we call it a text box, right? And it comes with lolem ipsum text, right? That's just the automatic one. So once you click it, you can click Ctrl A to highlight everything within the text or something like that sort, and just type the words. I think it's literally Monday motivation. I'm just going to make it capital. Monday motivation. Monday motivation. We need to finish up with this flyer very fast. Monday motivation, right? So for some of you guys, what you've been doing in Public Word, you click on a layer or something, that's where you want the text to be, and then literally just apply it. But this is not actually a very feasible kind of format. if you don't create some sort of a text box, it will not actually be good for you, because you won't be actually able to work with the text. I think I will explain that later in a bit. But what you have to do is to click on the text kind of component, and then drag, and then create some sort of a text box. After that, you write the words that you need to write, just like you would do in Word. So what happens after doing this? Now, everything we're going to do right here, it can be done in a Word document. So anybody, whether they know how to design or not, they can actually be able to do it. So what we're going to do here, we're going to open our properties panel. Now, since we're in a text kind of a thing, we can increase the text. Now, this kind of a panel is the same as the one in Word document. It's normally up here. As we can see, we can either do it from here or from the properties panel, but I encourage us to actually use the properties panel. So we're going to increase the text size. Apparently, this is literally for text size, right? This other one, which is lower, it's for the length between each word, I mean the height between each word. So it's actually 47.57. So since the text size is literally like 72, we just need to make it almost the same. We can make it 72, right? And then it shall give us something that's actually good. So these ones are literally better off to be literally the same size, or this one being slightly higher than the other, depending on the font that we're using, right? So I think I'm going to maintain the font and make it a bit bold, right? Monday motivation. Now this I normally use by default -50, but for you guys it's by default 0, right? We call it kerning, right? The kerning is literally the space between the words. For example, if the word is like this, as you can see, Monday motivation, I think they're having some sort of space, or their word is a bit canned or something that sort. So apparently you can have it kind of decreased. When it's decreased more, as you can see, this is literally the effect of, the more you can it or something. Normally, personally, by default, it's literally -50 because it looks better. It can make the text look a bit better. But according to the concept in the flyer that we're using, let's just make it 0 or probably -10. So it's literally better off in the negatives. I'll share with you why in just a few. So apparently we've done that, right? Right now we have the flyer ready, but we have some sort of a difference between this and that. That is to say, the words are literally, these words are literally aligned in this kind of, format or something of such. In fact, there's something I kind of missed out. Let me just point it out. In design, we have rulers in most of the software. We're going to go to After Effects in a few. Let me just drag this in a bit. Dragging them, I've just highlighted them and placed shift, and then I can literally drag them both. We normally have all the best kind of workflow. As you can see, this kind of boundaries, you can just click them. Once you click on them, you can get what we call rulers. I think they shall be explored in some of the tutorials that we shall share with you. And then drag the rulers. There's another better workflow, but I think we don't have the time to actually do that. But you want your kind of flyer to be bounded by rulers, right? For you to have some sort of a right dimension or something. So you're going to do this before you start. The best workflow, let me just share in a few. The best workflow is actually to get some sort of a shape, though this might take a bit time, is to get some sort of a shape, measure, like here, and then drag the shape. We'll show you how to duplicate that. Drag the shape to the other side so that you have almost the same size. Anyway, I think that's not so important for the start. Apparently we just put those boundaries. What you're going to do, just like how you do in Word, this kind of align tools, they also exist in Word document, but I told you I think the most important part is going to be the properties. As you can see, we still have the same kind of tools. So whatever thing you click, oftentimes it will appear in the properties panel. So apparently it's aligned to start from the left. So we can just change it to start from the right, right? And then since we've done that, we can just drag it. Dragging, you have to click with your mouse and then drag it in once. So what you're going to do, we're going to duplicate the text up here to make them true. So doing that is a shortcut to it, which is Control-D, right? But somebody can also do it from the layer panel. You can come here and then be like duplicate. I've hardly used it, but I believe it's here, duplicate layer. It's actually a harder workflow. So if you know the tools, it's easy with the shortcuts. So it's Control J to actually duplicate. So I've duplicated it, and then I'm just going to create this particular kind of text. So apparently what we have to do is to make it a bit small. So I'm going to, there are two ways of making it a bit small. Either there's a shortcut which is Control T. You guys will know about it later on, but let me not use it. Apparently you can come to this text thing. It's literally the size of the text, and then make it literally smaller depending on what you want to achieve. So I want to make it like something like 30. Yeah, 36 probably. All right, and then make this one also 36, so it can literally be the same size as something. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit and then write the text, which is this is the day to slay, right? This is the day to slay. So I know that we shall have time to, this is the day to slay. Okay. Apparently, what we have to do is to click back on our kind of properties panel. I told you we're literally going to be using only the properties panel for the rest of the things. I hope you guys can see how easy it is. Come here to the color, and then we can literally color pick or choose probably the black color. Or show us how this literally works. So we can just drag it here. Wherever you drag the cursor or something and click, the color literally appears. So we're going to drag it to this black kind of a thing. Then it will literally be black. As you guys have seen, we've actually used only the text tool and then the move tool to actually achieve this, right? So I'm just going to drag it above here. I think we can also have, I think that small word, a reason to believe. We're having a few minutes. Okay, a reason to believe. I've just duplicated the layer. And the shortcut to it is Control J to duplicate the layer, or you can press out and then click on any kind of layer. As you can see, when you press out, the cursor changes. Now this is literally before pressing out. When I press out, the cursor changes to something like those double things, right? So you can click and then duplicate, right? So that's the workflow. All right, so we're going to write here a reason to believe. Somebody actually mute your microphone. A reason to believe. All right. I think in a few almost we let me just make them capital letters. Advanced capital reason to believe. It's in English. We created our color palette so we can actually easily. I think. Derek, please mute your microphone. This is for choosing colors, so it's one of the easiest things you have to learn. Once you click the color pick, then you can drag and pick the color. Delik, please mute your microphone. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. A reason to imagine. In fact, a reason to imagine, right? A reason to imagine. Okay. So apparently we are done with the flower. There's just one more flow that we shall not explore. It's literally masking. We're just going to apply some sort of a mask. I shall show us how to do that in the coming tutorials and apply some sort of a gradient. This one you don't need to know or something that sort. I will share with you the image when it's already masked or something that sort. To just get rid of this top layer that's up here, right? To make it literally blend with the environment, just like how they did here, right? So as you guys have seen, it's actually very, very easy to create a flyer or something also, just like what they've done in Airtel, without using a lot of keys, right? Without using a lot of keys. So I've actually done almost the same thing with what Airtel did, right? Oh, I think this one we had to change it. We had changed it to this kind of a thing. I don't know why it went literally back. So I'm just going to apply the very color that they used. Apparently, we have to just color pick here, or come here to the colors of the work and then just pick here, and then increase literally the boldness or the heaviness. Derek, thank you for being on a call. It's literally beautiful to have you here. I think you'll be probably introduced the next step, but I'm so glad that you're here. So yeah, apparently, basically, we've literally done we've literally redesigned the kind of, the kind of flyer. Apparently, we're going to shift to kind of shift to After Effects and then explore and then do some sort of animation with it. Now, this kind of flyer, I don't know whether we shall get some sort of a time, but it's actually the same thing. Once you have these icons provided and then the image, because the workflow is it's easier if you actually break down the design process. Apparently, all you have to do, just like we've typed this word, and it's the same way how you do it in what in Word. This is literally the word, this is literally a logo, and these are literally two logos that we just have to drag and press this side and that kind of stuff. So, and then literally this is another logo, right? So creating this, I think only these blue lines, I think we shall explore them when we're exploring what we call blend modes. Here they just used literally either screen or something also to hide a few pixels. So it's actually very, very easy. If we had a few more other minutes, we should we could have done this in just like 3 or 4 minutes. That kind of line. So what I wanted to show us mainly is that design is very, very simple. I think the major problem that I would like to share with us as I'm shifting to After Effects. Now I'm going to use After Effects 2023, but it's the same workflow with, I normally have most of the versions, but most of you guys downloaded 2019, so I'm going to stick to that. But 2023 is going to literally be the same menus and everything, just in case somebody's having a high version or something sort. So let me use the lowest version possible. I'm going to open the interface. As literally opening up, I want us to appreciate the fact that design is very easy. Right? Designing is very, very easy. Motion graphics easier than you think. Please, SP, you can please mute your microphone. Design is very, very easy. It's about a workflow. Now, what I'm going to encourage you, I'm going to share with us another tutorial. Since this is literally a marathon, we had to do, kind of a fast run or something. So what I wanted to show you is that designing stuff is very, very easy. In fact, we did all what we did. We did all right. We did here. While just using, I think we didn't use the move tool. I think just literally moving the mouse around. All we used is the text layer. Fundamentally, the color palette, we didn't even need it. All we had to do is to click on the layer, click on color, and then choose the color. But normally for my organized kind of workflow, right? So we just used only the text, and then we dragged and dropped elements into the Photoshop. So we didn't use any of these things up here. We didn't use the align tool. We didn't use most of the tools here, so they have nothing to, they shouldn't shock you because of the time we're not going to use them to achieve cool concepts. So we use only the text layer and then dragging and dropping elements in here. The last thing which I did was masking. We shall explore it in a bit or in a few classes to come. Was the only extra thing, just because we had some sort of a line. We never wanted that line to appear, so we did what we call masking, but we will show it in the tutorials. Right now, let's shift to After Effects. Now, when you click on After Effects, just like I clicked on the button right here, this is literally the window that's going to pop up by default. As you guys could see, anyway, these are literally now here. It's going to be, for some of you guys, it's going to be empty because you've not done any project before. Apparently, I did some projects with After Effects 2019. I normally start my projects. Now, this is just for those of you guys who've been using a bit of After Effects. I normally start my projects in After Effects 2019 because it's the least. Once you start in After Effects like 2023 or 2024, the version that you did, just in case you have to share a project with some other person, right? The version that you did in 2024 cannot be opened in any version that's lower than it. Even 2023 can hardly open a 2024 version, right? So starting from the list, but actually the reverse is true. When you start from After Effects 2019, any 2019 version can be opened in 2024, right? And then the versions that are literally above, right? So that's why I love starting everything like in 2019, and then if at all I have to share the project file with somebody else, it's actually whatever version they're using, as long as it's 2019 and above, it can be opened by them. But if it's not, it won't open, right? So that's literally the kind of workflow. Anyway, this is literally the interface. As I told you guys, we're going to be able to animate this. I know they're going to have the time to, but in the next few minutes, I want us to be able to do this kind of animation that they shared on MTN, That's how it zooms out. They didn't apply most of the design principles. We shall go through them. Some can just zoom out, and this is how it literally goes. And then it literally it's there for quite a while. I think they need people to read these words up here, and then then actually this thing actually comes from above. So they share this on their main platform, you know. All right, we shall be able to do that. Now, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Derek. I had to communicate with Derek a bit earlier. He's one of the most wonderful 3D designers that we have in the country, that I've met. He's a very, very wonderful person. So one thing which I pray and believe that one day we shall have a class like this. He's done. Let me just speak about him in just like a minute. He has done most of the motion graphics. Like if you've seen some of the motion graphics for ICEA Lions, which are most of the ICEA Lions artworks and everything, like wonderful, wonderful world class motion graphics. Like is a very, very wonderful. Is a great person. So it's a very, very great. I've not seen a person do 3D just like he does. So one day we are praying that we have some sort of class like this where he's going to be sharing us, and I believe he's going to accept. Join me guys in prayer. He's so good at it. So yeah, thank you very much for being a part of this. And anyway, he will literally share with us. I can assure you, it's literally one of the best we have in the country, right? So yeah, other guys will literally testify about him, but he's the gentleman behind the Blue Flames. Yeah, they've done a lot of wonderful work. Anyway, this is the interface that's going to actually that you guys are going to see, and what you're going to be clicking is new, open new project, right? Let me see, why is it literally shifted? What happens is that you're going to click on open new project. Once you click on open new project, this kind of interface is going to actually come. Now this window shouldn't be there. This is literally the panel, or this is literally the interface that we're going to have, just like the one we had in Photoshop, right? And then, just like I said, this shouldn't make you afraid. It's actually easier and very, very simple, more than you think, right? So apparently, we're not going to use most of the tools, but let me just take us through the tools in just like 3 or 4 minutes. But just like I said, this is a marathon, so we're not going to go into the nitty-gritties. It's here to make it, to show you that it's actually very, very easy to do stuff. So we shall share a few other tutorials for you guys who are good for the nitty-gritties of everything in some other tutorials that we shall share with you. For now, it's all about making it easy for you, or showing you how easy it is for you to do motion graphics and graphic design. Beautiful. Anyway, thank you very much. Apparently, we have a panel just like how the one we had in Photoshop right here. File image. We have a new one, which is composition. We shall learn what composition is. Layers, just like we had up here in Photoshop. We have effects. I think the one which reconciles with the effects is actually the filters panel, right? Animations and view, and then windows. We're not going to use any of these panels, I think, when we're doing the animation that we're going to do. So this one, for you guys, I believe you're having only the project panel. I think even effects control, right? This still list is not there by default. It's a new thing that I did put in. We're not going to use it. So yeah, I believe this is the interface that you guys are having. I normally up here, let me just work on that interface let me just introduce us to just a few tools that we're going to use. Apparently, we have the selection tool, which is the shortcut is actually V. We're going to be using it a lot. We might not use the hand tool, but the thing is actually H. If you guys have used it in some other software or some that sort to move things around, right? Other tools are going to be highlighted once we are opening a new composition or something of sort. So this is literally how the interface will appear. Apparently, most of the things here we're not going to be using it. So the information, I'm just going to remove them. I think let me just close other panel in the group, because we don't need all the panels. What you're going to need to do is to click on Windows and then come here to Effects and Presets. Now I don't oftentimes have this window often because I don't use it. But for you guys, we're going to be using it. There's a new thing we're going to share with you, kind of a plugin that's actually going to make your workflow very, very easy. So this is how After Effects normally works. After Effects is an animation kind of software. It's not like Premiere Pro. I hope you guys have used Premiere Pro before. Premiere Pro is for video editing. I think we should explore it in a bit. If you know how to use After Effects, I mean, Premiere Pro is a bit easier than After Effects, so it's just video editing. You can do what After Effects does in CapCut. I mean, you can do what Premiere Pro does in CapCut, because they're about cutting layers, moving layers and kind of stuff. In After Effects, we are literally going to deal with keyframes. We call them keyframes. Let me just share with us what keyframes are. Anyway, let me just start with the panel in a bit, and then I'll explain what keyframes are. So after doing this, we're going to open. Either we can go to File and then be like New. I think File New, and then we'll be like, okay, we're in the new project. Anyway, we're going to click on New Composition, right? So it's literally up here, New Composition, or Control N. I don't normally use these layers, so I normally use shortcuts or something, but it's really the same button here. Or if you want to go the harder way, it's just clicking Composition, New Composition, right? So either way, this is literally appearing. If it's not appearing, you can go to Composition, then New. If it's appearing, you can just click Composition. Once you click on it, it's going to bring us a menu having the composition name. So this is literally the name, just like how we saw in Photoshop when we clicked here, New. This particular kind of menu, we put in the title, so it's the same kind of thing we're experiencing here. We put in the name of the document that we're using, so we're going to be like Mograph. And then the preset, we're going to leave it to custom, right? I believe by default it's going to be 1920 by 1080. This thing, let me just show us through the custom so that you may understand this. For example, most of these are longer views, oftentimes in this kind of page and time. But oftentimes in, I think sometime back, TV stations, because most of the motion graphics was done for TV stations, there was no social media like X, Twitter, YouTube, and all kind of stuff like years back. So whatever thing that was put in motion was literally, to be shown on TV, right? I hope I've been able to show you my camera. Important. Let me try to switch my camera. Okay. What I'm saying is that most of these things were, being shared on TV, right? So since we didn't have like social media platforms, they were literally shared oftentimes on TV, right? On TV stations. So different TV stations normally allowed different versions, right? Normally allowed different versions of the like different kind of settings or something like that. So as you guys can see, there's power TV, widescreen, square pixels or something like that. So some TVs normally used to allow UHD 4K. Some of them normally also allow like HD focus and so on. So apparently most of these you're not going to use them because we're in a new age. Oftentimes you're going to use the custom preset. I think either HD or something or 1080. We should learn about the frames or something. So apparently the frame rate I've been using, I'm not been using 60 frames per second. We're not normally going to use straight 9.99 frames per second or 30 frames per second by default. Because most of the footage you're going to be using, it's going to be moving in 30 frames per second, right? So we shall learn what frames actually are. So I'm preparing going to disable my video because I want us to concentrate on this. All right. We're going to make it like 30 frames per second. So I know what frames per second are, but I believe by default it has 29.999. I think 29.97, right? Frames per second. It has to be like square pixels. It has to always be like this by default. We shall share in a bit why. And then the duration, we're going to leave it a bit default. We shall know how to change this. The background color, we can have it like black, but you can also leave it like white. And then we're going to click OK. Now, we shall share tutorials that we shall take you into the nitty-gritties of how the thing works. But what we want to do at the end of the day, in the next few minutes, we want to be able to do this particular kind of animation. So I'm going to drag and drop the animation right up here. I think we may just need it as a reference and probably hide it. Anyway, let me take us through the panel. Oftentimes, you're going to be using the effects and preset panel right here that I've enabled. If you guys have not removed the other kind of panels, I showed you guys, what you have to do is to come and close other panels in the group so that you hide all the other panels because you're not going to need them. The only panel you're going to need is the effects and preset panel, right? So this other kind of tools are apparently highlighted. This is the move tool. The hand tool, you're not going to be using it. Oftentimes, the zoom tool, you're not going to be using it, or you'll be using it some of the times, literally to zoom in on any kind of project or something that sort. But the shortcut is actually clicking out. If at all you're using here in the move tool, once you click out and then scroll with your middle kind of a thing, once you scroll, it can be able to zoom in, so you won't be using this. Now, these three tools, this one's actually a rotation tool, but we won't be using it oftentimes, except otherwise. To rotate stuff, just rotate stuff. This one is actually for cameras, for 3D. We shall explore those ones in a bit. This one is the pen behind tool. We shall also explore it. How to center your how to have your it's normally called what? I'm just forgetting the name. Let me just have it here. Anyway, I'm just going to show us. You won't need actually to be remembering it in a bit because there's some sort of a setting. Let me just go to preference in a bit. All right. I'm just going to show us that what the pen behind tool normally centers. What is it called? It centers the anchor point. Now, oftentimes when you're starting, I would recommend that you come to preferences like I did because it's going to save you a lot of time. Come to edit, come to preferences, and then general, and just click on center. And just click on center the anchor point. Now we shall know what probably the anchor point is in a bit. I don't know whether we shall have the time to actually know it right now, but just have it clicked because it will save you a lot of time. Anyway, what we're going to do, apparently we have the effects and preset layer that we're going to be using oftentimes. This is literally the same shape layer that we used the other time in Photoshop. I'm sorry, I'm having some sort of a noise in the background. This is the pen tool. We also have it right here in Photoshop. We have it in Photoshop, but I think we're not going to be using it in After Effects apparently. And then the text tool, we're going to be using it, and the razor tool and kind of stuff, right? So what's happening? Apparently, let me just take us through these panels. This is literally the project panel, where your projects are literally going to be. So once you click, for example, if I delete this video, once I come and drag and drop it, it's one of the easiest way of putting stuff into the thing. Let me just have it deleted in the project panel. Once I drag and drop it, wherever I actually drop it, either drop it here in the project panel or something of that sort, it's going to appear in the project layers. So today it's going to appear in the project panel. This is literally another interface. We normally call it the timeline. It shares the name with that of Premiere Pro. The timeline. The timeline is where we find our composition. Now, composition is just like we can understand it as a room where you're going to do probably a particular kind of animation from, right? So we created one composition. So let me just create another composition and probably show us. Apparently, we are in one composition. It's like we would call it just like let me just reference to you guys for those of you who are in a class for Photoshop. This is literally an artboard. In After Effects, it's called a composition where literally all your work is going to be appearing, right? If we out and then drag this particular kind of artboard, we can create a duplicate of the artboard, right? So and have like two artboards where the work is going to appear. When you export, these two flyers will actually appear. Let me just drag this right here. If it's literally different, for example, you create like two flyers, they will appear. So it's literally the same concept we're having in After Effects. So we're having one of the artboards, or which in After Effects we call a composition. So this is the timeline. Once we drag anything, for example, the video that we want to do, I hope time allows us in just a few minutes. But I'm just going to show us the concept of how to do it. We may not probably use the very kind of a thing, but I'm going to use shapes. when we are actually practicing this, or when you're doing this, we are going to use the actual logos that shall be provided for you in the project files, right? So as you can see right here, let me just increase the timeline. Let me bring back the other panel that we had in the first place. The duration, for example, this animation is longer. Oh God, I'm having some sort of background noise. That this particular kind of animation is longer than 1 minute, so we're going to make the duration to be like 2 minutes. So that's the essence of that duration. For your information, I clicked a shortcut which is Control K to bring up that panel, but you can also still get it right here. It's a composition settings, and then bring it up and then change it. So I think it's longer than 2 minutes, is it? Yeah, it's longer than 2 minutes. Let me just make it probably 5 so that we see what happens in that kind of a thing. Oh God, why is it appearing? Oh, I was actually changing the seconds. Apparently, it's more than a minute. Oh God. So let me just make it 1. It's just a few seconds. All right. The time I was actually increasing the seconds. I thought I was increasing the minutes. Sorry about that. Anyway, this is literally what happens. So we're going to share a few fundamentals. Probably, we're going to get straight into how the animation literally appears. So I'm going to look this layer a bit and hide it and talk about how easy After Effects is. Now, After Effects works in terms of frames. Now, frames are literally, for example, an image. If we get an image right here, for example, let me get an image and drag it here. For example, this particular image right here. Now, this particular image is a frame. It's a single frame. It's one frame, right? So I think I need to share with us, I will share with us some sort of a concept. The first person to animate, or who literally animated, was literally, he literally made the horse, a single frame of the horse. So he made what we call a frame by frame sort of animation. He drew a picture of a horse when the legs were literally just posed in one kind of a state. And then literally he drew it again when the legs are kind of folding, and then drew it again when the legs are folding again. And then he made that image to, I don't know how I can explain it in the best way possible. Like, he made those images to, move from each other. Oh God! I think I just need to show us a video. I think I will share with us a video in one of the groups to show us how the concept of frames, right? Now, for example, if we had, anyway, I don't know how the best way I can explain it or something of sort. Anyway, frames are literally just like this image. It's a single frame. If we have like 20 images, let me say this. Oh, let me get ways of explaining frames. I think I've got the best example concept. Now, apparently, these are like 13, 12 images. So we can say that these are literally 12 frames, right? Now, I've duplicated them to be like 12 images. Let me do something very fast that we don't need to remember. Let me do something very fast that we don't need to remember to just show us the concept. Now, what I've actually done, though, it's actually the same image, right? It's actually the same image. Okay, let me do something a bit. We don't need to actually remember this. Just want us to show something, because this is actually very, very fundamental. Very, very fundamental. You don't need to remember this. We shall explore it in just a bit. But we need to understand this so that we literally move closer, we move at the same pace. Once you understand this, it will redeem a lot of your time. Anyway, what I've done is to change some of the colors of some of the frames, right? So if I literally have this move, the distance between each, now what we're having is that the frames are moving. For example, right now I think the timeline is on 3 seconds. The frame it's moving from one frame to another, and it's here literally we're changing from one frame to another in just a few seconds. We've made that kind of a small animation. I just added a few I just added what we call tones or something like that. We shall explore then in a few, right? So apparently we are having a few frames, and this is literally in motion. Now this is what we may understand as frames. Apparently we are having one frame being viewed in just a second, or in a kind of a time that we've regarded here. So each kind of image here represents a frame, right? I think I'll share with us a kind of a thing to show us what literally this is. But each kind of image literally it represents a frame, and as we move it, it's literally appearing to be in motion, right? Changing because we are having one frame being previewed, like in just one frame being previewed at another, like in different kind of time intervals, right? So yeah, that's literally the basic understanding of what a frame is. So let me just get rid of this. So After Effects is made of keyframes. I think different kind of people will share. I think Chris or Derek or some other people who do After Effects will share probably different concepts, or share some sort of a tutorial to explain to us what the keyframes are, or what frame rates are, right? So we're going to move these. We're going to create shapes just like we did. Now we want to do what this of what those of MTN did, right? So I'm going to create a shape right here, very fast, just like we shared in our Photoshop class. We can disable the stroke and then add the fill or some sort of a color. So I'm just going to make it black. I'm going to create a layer below. We're going to create some sort of a solid. Once you left click or right click, we can add some sort of a layer. Now, After Effects works in terms of layers, just like how Photoshop does, right? So in fact, even though I don't add a layer, we can come to composition and then come to composition settings. Remember, I put the background color in white, right? Let me just put it in, I put it in black. Let me just put it in white, right? Apparently, we have the background doesn't have pixels. So let me just show to us. It doesn't have like any shape. This is just to guide us, to make us, see stuff. There's nothing like in the background, right? So apparently, I'm just going to create some sort of a shape. I'm going to show us what literally keyframes are or something, or how motion happens in After Effects by just having this having that animation like move, right? So we're going to create some sort of a shape like that. We don't need to round it, and then add a text. Now this is the same workflow as we did in Photoshop, right? So we're going to add text, probably MTN move, right? Let me just make the text a bit bigger so we can come here. It's the same panel like we had in Photoshop. Just like I shared with you, it's easier if you know Photoshop. Illustrator becomes easier because you have the same tools. This is literally the properties panel that we had in Photoshop. I think you guys remember it. It's the same properties panel. So as we can see, as we saw in Photoshop, we can also change the color. So let me just change the color to yellow, something like that, right? So apparently we've created a triangle having this kind of word. So let me share with us the concept on how things move, because it's all about having the elements that we designed. I will show us a better workflow, how you can actually design concepts in Illustrator, but that will be probably in later classes. How you design elements in Illustrator and have them like animated in After Effects. Let me just hide one of the things, one of the text, and then the shape. Now, how we created the shape is the same workflow. The same workflow of how you like how you can actually create a shape in Photoshop. We just got a triangle and then drew a shape right here, right? So it's the same thing. What happens in After Effects is that you can have the shape to move, right? Now, how After Effects works, it works in terms of keyframes. Now, keyframes, literally, I would call it like, they're literally like set marks that if you want something to move or to change from one kind of form to another, all you have to do is to set keyframes, to be like, this is where it started. Well, I want it to start like this. and I want it to end like this. For example, if I want this kind of shape to move from this kind of area, right here, to this kind of position and have it like some sort of animation, all I have to do is to drag the shape where I want it to move from, right? And then come to the shape layers, right? There are different kind of keyframeable elements or properties, right? And position is one of them. Now, for you to see a position, you either have to click through this. In fact, Photoshop 2024 has a better kind of workflow, but it's almost the same. It has this drop down, but it also has another sort of a panel that where you don't need to drop down. So you have to drop down to rectangle and drop down to contents, rectangle, which you are having right here, and then still drop down and then have position here. But actually, there's an easier way of doing that. There are literally different shortcuts of doing that. So we have to just click P, which is due to a position, and then we shall have a new thing literally appearing here, which is called a keyframe, right? So we shall click on a keyframe. Apparently, we have a keyframe, and then we have the values, you know, where it has to move from and then end, right? So we can click on a keyframe. For example, we want you to start from here, then we click on a keyframe, and then we are like, because our keyframes work, they work with the value called time, right? They work with time. Now, this is literally our timeline, and you guys remember we defined it as a timeline. So we are starting from 0, 0, and then it'll be like in just 5 seconds, we want like in like 9 seconds, or you know, in after like 9 seconds. Yeah, this is the timeline. So once we click on a keyframes, you can be like, after 9 seconds, we want the shape to be actually in this kind of a place. So what we're going to do is, basically, now these are literally the values. This is the X and Y position. Now, each and every kind of property has values with it that can be keyframed. For example, there's another property called scale. It also has like the 2 values with it, right? For scaling it. Now, these are literally linked together. Once I click on them, you can see that they are kind of scaled. The shape can actually scale up. Now these are linked together. This is literally the height and the width. So once you unlink it, you can just scale the width. You can just scale the width, and you can scale the height. But now they are linked. Normally they have to be like linked or something that's not, except if you want to do something different. I've clicked Ctrl Z to actually go back. So apparently we want to move the shape from this kind of place to another, right? So we have to go back position. Once we come on a keyframe on the timeline, will be like in 9 seconds, on 10 seconds, want to move to this place. All we have to do is to drag the shape and then move it, right? Now I'm dragging using a press shift while dragging to just make sure that it's the same line. If you don't press shift, it can just, you know, be a random kind of movement. It's very hard to be precise. So you can press shift on it and then just drag it in this position. Now what happens? Keyframes record the movements or whatever kind of thing that you do. Once you click on one, for example, we clicked on one keyframe here, like when the shape was here. Once we moved in the timeline, it recorded what literally happens, or you can in the easier way of understanding it is like a camera sort of recording. Now, here's the thing. If you understand how keyframes work, you've literally understood 80% of, you know, After Effects, because it's just all about that, right? So keyframes is like a camera recorder, right? That will be like, let me press my camera, the camera button, like I want the shape recorded from the keyframe. Like, let's just perceive it as a camera recorder. Will be like, let's record our movement of film. Let's just think of this as literally a film. Would be like, let's record this film from like this kind of a place to this other place, right? So so what happens is that it's like a frame recorder. It can be like, let's start recording, and now once you move the shape, it automatically records where the where you ended from, right? So that's why it recorded it created some sort of an automatic keyframe right here, right? So if we go in the timeline and just move the shape anywhere, the camera is still going to record, right? And then let me move it anywhere, still the camera is going to record. Let me move it like in this kind of place, still the camera is going to record, so it's going to show us what we call keyframes. These are literally showing us that each and every motion that you've done is being recorded, right? So when I come and play back, let me just make them a bit shorter. I'm just pressing out and then, you know, dragging them a bit, but you could just make them shorter just for it to move faster. As you can see, each and every recording, the shape, you know, right now we've literally done the best kind of animation that you normally see on your DVDs in just a few seconds. So what happens, just how After Effects works, let me just create, let me just hide that kind of a shape and then do other recordings with this logo, right? So this time around, we want to record the scale. So we're going to click on start recording, or, you know, put a keyframe there. We shall share, I think in just a few minutes, we are literally a few minutes past where we had to stop from. So I'm going to stop in a bit, but I'm just going to show us how you guys are going to be able to create this kind of MTN video. I just wish to still have more time. I hope you guys, I know you guys can be patient in this and that's it, but we are just 30 minutes past. And some of the tutorials that we shall share with you shall go into the details of how these things did happen, right? So anyway, if you want to record the scale, like increasing in size or something, so we have to just click on this kind of keyframe, and we'll be like start recording. So it'll be like when it comes to like 10 seconds, we want the MTL text to become bigger. So we're going to increase the keyframeable values, or the recordable values, right? So we're going to be like, let's increase them to, you know, this kind of place or something that sort. Now, as you can see, they're increasing from this kind of a place. Let me just show you. They're scaling from this kind of anchor point. We call it the anchor point, right? So what happens, if you want them to scale from the middle, let me just go back a bit. If you wanted to scale them from the middle, now that's the essence of this pen behind tool. It can move the anchor point into the middle. So you have to just drag and put it right here. I think there's a shortcut for those who are using desktop. When you click, I think it's Control Home, it can just put it right here. But in our settings, we made it to actually be automatically in the middle. I think it just didn't apply to this one. So right now we can actually have it scale from the middle right here. So you can be like, you can also, in fact, you can actually use your cursor while pressing Tab and Shift to do it like here. As you can see, once we scale it, the values are increasing. But professionally, it would be good to actually scale using the values right here, right? So after doing that, as you can see, another keyframe, or what we may understand as recording, has literally had it recorded here. So as you can see, something is moving already, right? So just understanding that, right? Just praying that we understood that, or I need to explain a bit. You can know how these people literally put this kind of stuff in motion. We've just done this right now. Just done this in 2 seconds. Just doing two things. We've not explored the effects and presets thing. We've not explored anything right here. These interfaces, all we did was to create a word. We came here, just like we did in Photoshop, created a word. And then after creating it, we came here to the layer panel, right? Clicked on probably the shortcut. I think you guys will know about the shortcut later. Scale. We said we wanted to scale up. And then we clicked on this kind of record button or keyframe. And then it'll be like from the 0 second to here, we want us to scale like here, just like how it did here with the MTN thing. And then it'll be like, let's scale it. I don't know whether my stuff, my stuff actually, let me just go back to the general preview. I literally enabled it so that this thing is straight from the middle, but you guys just have to know. I think anyway. For you to scale in the middle, just like I said, click on the pen behind tool. The shortcut is Y, and then just drag this kind of a thing, as you can see, and just put it in the middle. Wherever you put it, it scales from there. So right now we want to scale from the middle. So let's go back to our move tool. And then we'll be like, we just want it to scale. So we put a recording button or a keyframe button. So it'll be like in just a few seconds. So if you're following after this, we can have the video beneath. and then be like, after like here, we want it to scale from up to there. So it can be like even from the start, we want it to start a bit smaller, right? We want it to start a bit smaller. And then after like a few seconds, we want it to be like that. And then we'll be like, okay, let me just move it. And now the animation has been recorded, and then we are done with animation, right? So we're done with the first kind of a thing in just a few seconds. Now this is literally what MTN guys, did. They just had those two shapes moving together, right? Right. And then after that, they made it to scale up there. So that's what we're going to do, right? Just in a few seconds, they made it to scale there. So what we're going to do is to be like, okay. Now here's the thing. As we're finishing, I think we're going to finish in the next 3 minutes, right? You can add recordings or keyframes or keyframeable properties on the same element, right? Because as we see right here, it's scaled up, right? And then it's scaled back. Let me just show us only the MTN logo, only the MTN thing. Let me just solo it up here. It's scaled up and then it's scaled back. Like it scaled and then it moved, right? So two things happened here. It scaled down and then it also moved. So we have to have two things being recorded, or two things being recorded on the camera. That is literally the scale and then the position. Remember in our shape right here, let me just enable it in a bit. Remember in our shape here, we were just moving, we're just recording only the position. I think the recording is more relatable, the recording one. So apparently we're going to record two things. We're going to record the scale and we're also going to record the position. So we can, the easiest shortcut to do this is to press Shift P to have everything like appear, or else you can just press P just like we did, which stands for position. Or if you've forgotten, you can just drag the below and then you can see position right here and then click on it. But the easiest thing for you to do is to just press P, right? And then once you, I think there's just a shortcut which is like Shift U, or which is like you to see how many like stuff that you've literally put on the keyframe thingy. So what you have to do, let me just show us the simple thing. For example, once you press U, you can see what is being recorded, right? So once you press Shift and then P, now this is the only thing you have to remember. Once you press Shift and P, or Shift and any other thing like Shift and P, you can add it on a view, or you can make it actually to be seen so that you may see whatever you're going to be recording, right? So that's actually very, very easy. And then you add it. Or else, even though you don't press Shift and P, just in case you forgot, you can just click on this drop down and come and click on the position and then literally close it. There's just a small shortcut to actually for you to see what is being, or the values of what is being recorded. So the shortcut is U. So you can just press U and then it does what we did with Shift P or something like so. So it's just easy, whatever you can remember very fast. The beautiful thing is that for you to be able to see the values and then the keyframes right here, right? So even though you don't see actually the values, let me just make it as simple. Once you press U, it automatically shows you the values, but also the keyframes. So we want to record the position, right? So what we already have is the word scaling up, or the shape scaling up. So we want also the position just like after here, so that it scales down also, right? So we already put our camera on what we normally call a keyframe. Then we're going to move like right here. And then since there's nothing like moving with the motion, is just scaling up, we can click again right here. There's I think here to show that add or remove keyframe. So we can add a camera to show us actually up to here we can still record, right? Since there's nothing now, if something does not move, let me also point this out. If something does not move, for example, we don't have the position of these words B moving, right? So because we don't have it moving, we have to automatically add a keyframe by just pressing here. So I think it's some other basic thing you have to remember. So you just have to click on it and be like, record this also. But normally, if something moves, or if you drag the layer, or if you click on these values, for example, here's the thing. As you can see, these values are not changing. From here to here. So because they're not changing, you have to add it manually to add this kind of thing, be like record up to here. So we have that thing scaling down. So apparently we have to come here and be like, okay, we want it to scale like down here. So we're going to and make it a bit smaller. You can actually use these things to make it small or something, but professionally, you have to use these values and just make it a bit smaller depending on what you want to happen. So as you can see, it's automatically recorded, and then move this one up. So this is the X and Y, right, values. So you can be like, let's move the Y up right here. So since everything has moved in this kind of values, there's a new automatic recording that has happened. So when I hide this, you can see that our animation is like this. It moves like our MTN thing, and then it scales down, just like what those of MTN did. Let me just make the animation of MTN. So it scales up, and then it goes back. Apparently we shall learn to do with keyframes and everything. Let me just make it a bit fast. So it scales up, just like our MTN thing, and then it moves up there, right. So and this other thing actually scales up, and then it's also hidden, right. It's also hidden. So and then these other things like move from up, down. All those are just recordings or their keyframes. For it to move. We saw how that thing now. We saw how we move the triangle. For example, if we want those elements to move like from down there, from up there, we can just let me just create a new shape as we finish up. What happens is that I just created a new shape right here. We want it to move from up there to down. So what we have to do is be like, okay, where do we want it to start? We want it to start from up there. And we record, we click on the position which we want to record. We want to record the position from up there, and then be like from down here. So and then our motion is actually done. So the thing is moving from up to down. So motion graphics is actually very easy. Easier than you think. Now, if I had time or something within a few minutes, would have done this animation or even better, because there's some animation principles that normally have to apply, which these of MTN probably didn't apply. Maybe they didn't have time, but their animators are so good. I know some of them would do some of the animations for MTN. They're good at it. Maybe they never had time or something. Yeah, so that's how literally things move. It's actually very easy. As we literally wrap up with the class, we've added some sort of 19 minutes, but I hope it has been easy for us. For those who have not been with us, we've recreated the Airtel. I normally wanted us to start with those big brands so that you can see these are literally brands where people pay close to $50,000 to do for them branding, and to show you how easy it is to do what is being done for them on the first day, right? So we created an Airtel flyer right here. I think we also had to create this other one of MTN. I think we just didn't get time, but since we're able to create this, we can also be able to create these ones. Now, the workflow that I've shared with you is actually very easy. I told you one of the people that are in the class right here is called Enoch. If you guys can see him, he created a few things. I just love to just encourage us with them. I don't know where I actually saved them, but I just want them. I just want us to see them. I think I saved them somewhere. I should have saved them somewhere. I just want to see what one of us was able to do in just like from day 1 to day 4. He has just done graphic design for just like 4 days, right? Is this part of it? It's actually here. So let's close with this. I just want us to show what one of us was able to do from day 1. I just had to, put them in one PDF, right? So from day 1, the first day he literally opened the interface, he was able to actually recreate this flyer. Now, this kind of workflow that we're using, a project-based kind of learning, to me is actually the fastest. And you can learn other tools and other things as you go the way. But you discover that most of the people who are creating cool concepts out there, they don't use most of the tools that you're afraid of. They just use a few ones that you can just learn on the first day. Even most of the motion graphics that you see happening, just a few tools that I've just showed you, the position, scale, and everything is just enough for somebody to create that animation ad in a few minutes or in just 1 hour or something, or even less, right? So this is what I was able to do from day one. As you can see, the first time he got Photoshop, this was the assignment he did, and then he did that. He did that kind of a thing. Now, this is what he recreated on day two. This was artwork from Pinterest. This is what he was able to do on just day two using a few tools. It's called Enoch. He's right here. I think if we got time, he would have spoken with us. I think we shall share with us in the next class, which we shall have on Friday. This is what he was able to do on day three. This is what was done, and then he recreated this. He learned a few things called masking or layers, which we discovered that once a layer is behind the other, it's easy to do that. He recreated this kind of the flyer on yeah, this was actually day three, and then day four. And then, yeah, therefore, he recreated this kind of a flyer. Therefore, still recreated this kind of flyer. The other day five, he also recreated this. In fact, there's some other flyers in line with this. He recreated like, vanilla flyer or something of that sort. And then he was able to do this in just 5 days, right? So I want you guys to probably put in the work. You may not be able to remember most of the stuff that we've shared in just this, but it's actually very, very easy. We're going to share with you a couple of tutorials from guys like Pixin Perfect, TPC, PTC, Photoshop Training Center, and other guys who are going to guide you through. So tomorrow we're going to have done. I think this is one of our assignments. We're going to recreate this kind of flyer. I have some other kind of flyers. I think on the next day we shall be the next time we meet. We shall be able to create this kind of MTN flyer. So I want to get artworks and animations from those big brands, and we just recreate them. We want to recreate them in this first week, right? Yeah. So I think this is usually going to be the end of the class. Some of the things where you guys will need inquiries or something, so just in case you have just started learning After Effects or something, people are literally available in the class to just in case you have questions or something. Tomorrow is going to be, you guys practicing and all kind of stuff. So I think we're going to end the class right here. We didn't have enough time to create keyframes and redo this kind of animation thing, but I wanted the main purpose of this kind of thing, whatever thing I was doing, was to show you how easy things are. And I think it's going to be more of a mental thing. If you can perceive them as easy, they're going to be easy for you. If you see them as hard, it's going to take you more time, longer time to learn them or something. But they're literally very, very easy. And you can recreate like good stuff from great brands or something that sort in just a little while. So yeah, we're going to end our class like right here. Thank you guys for being a part of it. If you guys go and practice with we're going to share with you some of the in-depth tutorials that you guys are going to follow along. And once you see them, you guys will be able to relate with it and see how easy stuff are. So I can assure you by the end of our marathon thingy, you guys are going to be able to recreate most of the animations that you see happening on screens and on social medias and everything, and also to create some of the designs. So if you guys can just remember how we created this, I believe by something like day 3, you guys will be able to create all these flyers in just a few. Thank you guys for being a part of this. We're going to close the class. Yeah, it has been like 1 hour and it's coming to 2 hours. Thank you guys for abiding. Yeah. So please, Chris, if you have something to say, please do, but we can have the class closed. Thank you guys for being a part of this.
Thank you guys for being here. I don't have much to say. I'm going to share a few things tomorrow. We uploaded the video that was recorded yesterday on YouTube. So we're also going to share the same tomorrow at